Hey guys, so something I've been working on for quite a while now. I have consistently been doing research as far as speedometers go in first-gen Cummins. Alright, so that being said, everybody knows about the 2 gears you can buy to replace the pre-93.5 speedometers. Those gears typically will go on a little motor, the stepper motor right here. You can replace them and it's super easy. Downside is I have one made in late 93. So my problem I ran into was, number one, there was a couple capacitors on the board right here. You can see those. Those are bad, and my speedometer, neither my odometer worked. So I replaced the capacitors, but in the process had inadvertently pulled the little odometer drive motor that they went to in 93.5, and later up to 97, 98 probably. I haven't seen a 98. I know 97s have this style motor, along with some Nissans, Toyotas, anything that has a Nippodenso style cluster that looks like this. Okay, if you got the older style, you can replace the gears. But if you're like me, have a 93, and you need to replace this little motor, I'm going to show you how to do it. You can't find these motors aftermarket or anything like that. I've searched and searched, scoured the internet. There's no part number on them. The numbers that are on them don't match to anything. So I said, let me see if I can find one out of a mid-90s truck, and we're going to see if it works. I'm thinking it will, because the 2 motors that I do have, essentially what it is, they're windings inside, and those windings change the polarity to drive this based on where the wires and pin location, but they're so thin, it's like a human hair, that when I pulled the circuit board off, not thinking one night, thinking that it just plugs in, it doesn't. They're actually soldered onto the board, so I inadvertently broke those wires, causing it not to actually work when I put it in the truck. So after figuring out that I can't find these motors, I decided to go back to the junkyard, which today was a score. Got a couple of Fox shocks for cheap, control arm, and a cluster that we're going to see if we can get it to work. We're going to desolder these pins here and pull this motor out. And hopefully we'll have our odometer back. We'll see. I'm kind of excited to see if this works, and if it does work, you 93 guys, if you have this style of speedometer and it doesn't work, I can fix it. Your speedometer, I know I can fix. Usually it's, like I said, one of these little capacitors on the back will burn out, and you'll chase it down constantly. You'll think it's the trans gear, the reduction elbow, the sensor. I mean, I went through that whole spiel going, oh no, nothing could be in the cluster bad, until I figured that out. I just bought those capacitors off Amazon, replaced them, and my speedometer has been working great. Calibration's a little off because I'm running it without the little L adapter, ratio adapter, but when I'm up around, say, like 80, my actual speed is right about 70. So I'm 10 miles an hour off because of the way I set the needle, the tension on the needle. Up to about 60 miles an hour, it's dead on. And that was confirmed through GPS. So, if you guys are wanting your speedometer fixed, send me a message and get with me, and I'll, we'll figure out a price, something fair, and see if we can get some of these old trucks odometers working again. I would really like to do that. If you supply the parts an old speedometer from 94 to 97, and send me your stuff. You know, we'll talk from there. So let's get started. Alright, so we're back. I'll take the speedometer that I got. It's out of my truck, and we're going to pull it out. First thing you got to do is take off the clear cover. Just be careful. Everything is super fragile in these trucks, so basically it's pretty easy. Just get you to. So what you're going to be doing is, if you take all the screws out for the glass, you'll take the 1, 2, 3 Torx out, and then just ever so slightly start working your speedometer out. Okay, be careful because these will break if you tighten them down too much. It looked like at one point somebody had actually maybe tried to get in here because one was already cracked. It could just be the fragileness. But so yeah, let's get that done. We'll get that pulled out, and then I'll show you how to solder on the little servo. Alright, so this is a good time if you want to do the lights, like I changed my light dash colors, dash light colors, to go ahead and do that. The next process is basically self-explanatory in a way. We'll take this little board, we'll take it off. These are a little bit different than the later models, but relatively the same. The circuit board's just a little different. So when we go to pull this off, there's a little connector right here that you have to undo. And then that's where we get into the issue. So I replaced, let's see here. So I replaced these two capacitors here. Those were bad. They looked burnt whenever I first tore this apart. What you're gonna have to do is, just like the other one, you see here how I didn't desolder the pins, I just pulled them straight out of the motor, and it caused them to break. So that's what we're fixing now. So if you by chance have done that, desolder these pins, pull this motor out with your new motor that you've already desoldered, and you should be good. Let's hope. I'm going to get working on desoldering these pins and cleaning this board up, and we'll go from there and try to see if this will really work. So we got everything desoldered. Okay, what I did was this little piece here, the little tab that's formed into that, I took my soldering gun and I just kind of melted the top, and then on the back side there's this little gap. You take a flathead and you just very slightly, don't even, if this is not gonna come off, it's gonna be, you're gonna have to use force. You should only be able just to barely turn it, just enough to actually see the board move. What you're also gonna have to do is there's 4 of these little tabs that are bent. Okay, those are right there. The 4 tabs, 1 in each cardinal direction, you're gonna have to bend out to be able to pull the board off. And just kind of work your way around ever so slightly, making sure that all your solder is off and the pins do not move. You do not want those pins to move. If you do, you're going to be SOL and back to square one. Just like that. So, I'm going to go out to the truck and I'm going to grab my speedometer and we're going to go from there. This one looks in fairly good shape. I don't see any damage, and so long as I can solder these pins back on and make sure that nothing came loose, we'll get this thing back together. The way to remove this is these 2 little tabs right here. You're going to have to pry apart. Now, there's a couple of different ways to do it. I normally just kind of set it down and I'll take right on the corner and pry one out and just try to get it wiggled up and just keep working it. It'll take a minute, but you want to be as gentle as possible with this little motor because I'm telling you, the windings in it are small, but at the end of the day, if you're going to not use the same board and speedometer or odometer, because I know some of them are messed up here, the actual numbers. If you're not going to use this one, you can break them off, but I like to keep these around just in case I need the parts, you know, whether I need a odometer part or anything like that. So we'll get this motor pulled out and see if we can't salvage this old Dodge. It's got to be very careful. This is the part that makes me the most nervous. So I never know how they're going to react, because we all know the Dodge plastics are very finicky. So I went ahead and I unfortunately broke that. So the good thing about that is now it's a little bit easier to get the motor out. Don't break the gear when you pull it out either. It just comes straight up. Go ahead and break that one. And motor comes straight out. That's the gear that drives your odometer. Getting these in is a chore. So I'll show you how to do that. Let me go get the other speedometer pulled out, and let's hope this works. I hope it will. Alright, so I got a little butane soldering gun. I love these things. They are absolutely amazing. Get it clean. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna try and get a good, these 6 pins here, we're going to desolder those. It's the first step. So let's get to that. Alright, so we got the motor back in, and essentially that just comes down to get the old one out and snap the new one back in. Just be careful, make sure the gear's lined up, and reset your trip odometer. This little tab right here, if you can see that, I just took my soldering gun and just burned it flush, because the other board, when you look at the differences between the two, this one has a little tab right here that it can go inside. This one does not. So you'll just have to burn that off. It's not really needed anyway. But beyond that, go ahead and set your board back in there. Make sure it will snap down. Take a look, and yep, I can see the pins are in there. So we're going to snap it all the way down. Take care not to break your needle or anything. And then add your solder. And if we've done everything right, it should work. So I'll get this soldered on, and then we'll go put it in the truck and see what happens. Alright, so probably not the best job in the world, but you can see fresh solder back on, and we're going to put the screws back on for the circuit board and see what we can get from there. Hopefully I can get my odometer going again, because I'd really like to know, since my gas gauge or my fuel gauge is not working. That's a whole other thing. I'd like to know how many miles I've traveled and put this true mileage back on the odometer. So let's go outside and do it.